I want to play you this clip of John Kerry trying to, wiggle his way out of a great question by a French reporter who said that, you're calling Putin a war criminal. Didn't you vote to invade Iraq? Take a look.
Vous, les Américains, vous avez commis le crime d'agression en Irak. Et ces pays du Sud disent, mais est-ce qu'il faut juger George Bush? Pourquoi un George Bush n'est pas jugé de la même façon? Vous y seriez favorable?
Non.
Pourquoi?
Because there's never even been
parce que
a direct process
il n'y a pas eu d'accusation à l'encontre du président Bush. Alors s'il y avait eu des abus de pouvoir, oui. Moi, j'étais contre
What does that mean? Okay, first of all, that's a lie that Bush has never been formally accused of war crimes. He has been. In Malaysia, for example, they had a tribunal. The other thing is that he's kind of like, I committed my own war crimes when I was in Vietnam.
J'ai fait la guerre du Vietnam, il y avait des abus, j'en ai parlé, et à la fin de la guerre, il y a eu...
Est-ce que ça n'était pas un crime d'agression d'entrer en Irak sur la base d'un mensonge?
No. Well, you didn't know it was a lie.
On ne savait pas que c'était un mensonge à l'époque.
Wow, where do we begin? Where do we begin? There's so many lies. I can't handle all these lies. Okay. Actually, to the reporter, I would add that whether it was a lie or not is irrelevant. If whether you said Saddam Hussein has, copies of Peter Pan on his nightstand or weapons of mass destruction, it doesn't justify the invasion of Iraq, period. And another lie, of course, was that we need to deliver freedom and democracy. Who the hell is the UK and the US to deliver democracy to anyone? But just going back to what Kerry said, they knew it was a lie because for years they've been pushing this nonsense about we should go into Iraq. I showed you this clip of Joe Biden already in 1998, 99. Saying that they should invade Iraq and on the basis of WMDs, and Dick Cheney, who was the vice president, George Bush's vice president, and when I say vice president, I say that cautiously because he was actually the one running the show. As a lot of people would joke about that at the time, but it's true to an extent. In any case, Dick Cheney went to the CIA and he ordered them to cook up a bunch of nonsense about Iraq so that they would have something on paper to dangle, and wave in people's faces at the United Nations, right? And it was built on lies. They all knew this.
Tout ce qui a été produit à l'époque, on ne savait pas que c'était mensonge.
Dude, I was a fucking child and I knew it was a lie. How do you're a goddamn senator and you didn't know it was a lie? Shame on you, man. Come on. Don't insult people's intelligence.
Alors non, là encore, là vraiment...
mais lui mentait.
Don't hold us accountable. You're not being constructive, okay? Stop this immediately.
Lui mentait.
Sir, I'm not going to redebate the Iraq war here right now. We spent a lot of time doing that previously. I was opposed to going in. I thought it was the wrong thing to do. But we gave the president the power, regrettably, in the Congress, based on the lie. And when we knew it was a lie, people stood up and did the right thing.
Jesus Christ. What does that mean, stood up and did the right thing? Are you able to resurrect people from the dead? Can you, undestroy Iraq? Iraq is still destroyed, by the way. And I know I'm going off on a tangent now, but what really, really bothers me, and this is in addition to, 1 million people killed, millions more made refugees. The Americans, they actually put a base on top of Babylon. So we're talking actual, the ancient city of Babylon. And they built a helicopter pad on the city and destroyed. I don't even know. I don't think the rest of the sentence even needs finishing. They destroyed it. They not entirely, of course, but they also used, when you're building, not just trenches, but outposts, gunner positions, you need sandbags, right? To build fortifications. And so they were taking rocks, and pieces of Babylon and using that to fill their sandbags. Like, Jesus Christ, you're in Iraq. You can't find enough sand. There's a goddamn desert right next door. Just take it from there. No. Let's destroy, like, priceless human heritage and some of the, the most important artifacts on the planet. This is so ignorant. It beggars belief. In any case, I will let Mr. Kerry finish his word salad here. I don't know what he means with people stood up and did the right thing. What right thing? What is that? The Iraqis told you to get out after murdering Soleimani, and you're still there. The American embassy in Baghdad is really this is a problem with the Vienna Convention, is that they abuse it. The Americans, when you have an embassy, you cannot touch the embassy. It's sacrosanct, right? So it's considered territory of the guest country, right? But the Americans, they stretch this to its limits, and they not only put diplomatic staff and a CIA spy station, they also bring in Marines and they build barracks. And so now this embassy, instead of being an office or an office building, it becomes a military base. And what am I supposed to say, right? This is an abuse. This is also, pushing it too far. And if you, I think so, if you compare the actual size of the embassy to something, shall we say, the Vatican, right? It's the size of the Vatican. This is the U.S. embassy in Baghdad in the Grayzone, right? It's that big. It's ridiculous. Most embassies are like one office. That's it.
The right thing. Je comprends ça, mais vous comprenez que pour les pays du Sud, bien sûr, ça, la justice, l'égalité, les principes, c'est leur impression, est à double standard, et ça pèse aujourd'hui, y compris dans le débat sur le climat.
Honestly, l'administration Biden très clairement et très ouvertement est du côté de la justice environnementale.
Environmental justice? What are you talking about, man? But I think Biden is starting to rub off onto Mr. Kerry over here. Wake up, Mr. Kerry. Are you with us? Come on, wake up, Mr. Wait, what do you mean the environment? I have to thank the reporter for actually doing a good job, because most of the time, no, franchement, je te remercie énormément, parce que normally, they'll have someone like Mr. Kerry, a secretary of state, a diplomat, and they'll just give them softball questions. So these are questions that are not really questions. But here he actually held his feet to the fire. I would have gone even further, because the point that this guy's trying to make, the host here, is that most of the planet are not interested in hearing about Putin being a war criminal and Russia committing war crimes. They're not interested because they have had it up to here. They've had enough of being, first of all, talked down to, lectured to by the West, and having lived through Western colonialism and seen not just pre-1945, but everything after the neo-colonial establishment, right? So this is the entire infrastructure, from the World Bank, the IMF, to U.S. troops and British troops invading Iraq, again occupying Iraq, as they did previously, and other parts of the Middle East, Syria, Libya. So they cannot. They're not interested. There has, George Bush. Remember, right now Zelensky and the Americans. They're saying that Putin should be tried at The Hague for war crimes, and I find this obscene, because even the United States do not respect the ICC. And I would go even further and say that they loathe the ICC. So for them to now suddenly pretend like, oh, we care about this court, even though we are not a party to the Rome Statute, and we do not participate in this court. We suddenly want this court to try Putin because Putin is evil. The United States, and as far as I know, it's the only country on earth that has something like this. This is under the Bush administration. It's 2002, I think. It doesn't matter. The Bush administration passed a law and it stipulates that if any American, doesn't have to be the president, could be any American, is taken to the Hague, to the ICC, then they will invade the Netherlands. They will invade the court. They will invade the Hague. Like, it's nicknamed Hague Invasion Act. So, you know, I struggle to understand. Actually, I don't. I know very clearly what's going on. This is disgusting hypocrisy. It's comical, you know, for them to say we will invade this court if you ever try to try an American, but we really want you to take Putin there, you know, because we care about justice or something. Come on, man. Sorry, you know. And in the UK, just to give you an equivalent, because since we're talking about Iraq and this idea of justice, the UK is a signatory to the Rome Statute. You know, it is a member of the ICC. The thing is, though, that there was, you know, an additional statute. So just to tell you, the first crimes that were ratified as crimes were, you know, crimes against humanity, genocide, and so on. However, crime of aggression, so when you invade a country, this wasn't added until after Iraq, and by that time, you know, the UK had no interest in ratifying it whatsoever. Okay, so Tony Blair, when they tried taking him to court for invading Iraq, this is in the UK. Okay, the High Court stopped it and said that, well, in the UK, invading a country is not a crime. So, you know, we can't really do anything here. And why is it not a crime? Because of what I just laid out to you. Because the UK is a member of the ICC, but not fully. It only picks, you know, it's cherry picking which laws to adopt rather into British common law, and yeah, this is how Mr. Bush and Mr. Blair, you know, get off scot free, and you know, anyone with half a brain, wherever they are, should be able to see very clearly that you know, there's no interest in any justice here or something, and you know, I think, especially Iraq, because the Americans went to the UN Security Council, they went to the UN in New York, and they could not get a resolution passed in favor of what they were trying to do in Iraq, unlike Afghanistan, by the way. But again, just because the UN, you know, does something doesn't necessarily make it okay, right? In any case, the fact that they tried to go through the UN, they failed, and then still invaded nonetheless, it was such a middle finger and screw you to the UN, to international law, to everything. Okay, that's why it's so important. It's not just the scale of the invasion. It's the middle finger to international law, and this is why no one can take anything that's being said about the Russians seriously, because there are no standards anymore. Every law that exists has been broken. Every treaty, every convention, you know, from war crimes to crime of aggression, it's all been done, and no one did anything to stop Britain or the US. No one has been held accountable. I think if in Iraq you have one person in the British Army who's ever been convicted of a war crime, and I'm sorry, you really think only one person committed a war crime in the British Army in Iraq? I forgot what this guy's name was. I did a segment on it before, but he basically beat an Iraqi hotel a receptionist, I think, or worker, to death. Right? He was kidnapped. They beat him to death, and then only one person was convicted, and it was a corporal. And after 1 year, he got out of prison. I mean, Jesus Christ, you know, by anyone's standards, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? So seriously, we're you know, this is a joke. Oh, Putin should risk it. What the hell, man? Let's clean up our own house, and then we can worry about the Russians. Yeah. Let me show you this also from Mr. Desire. So he's the former UN expert on promotion of a democratic and equitable international order. And he says that the Iraqi invasion was the most flagrant violation of international law since 1945, a veritable revolt against the UN Charter, incomparably more criminal than the Ukraine war. The fact that Bush remained unpunished manifests the absence of enforcement mechanisms in the UN. Yep. And he says here that John Kerry forgets that the People's Tribunal meeting at Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, composed of eminent lawyers and judges, did convict George Bush in 2012. The scandal is that Bush was never impeached in the US, nor indicted by the ICC, although the tribunal's judgment was referred to the ICC. Right. So just so you understand something, because Russia is also not a member of the ICC, the victim or the plaintiff, shall we say, in a case, if they are a member of the ICC, so, Iraq, for example, or Afghanistan, then it's enough to bring a case forward, even if the defendant is not a member of the Rome Statute. Okay, so that's why the Israelis were so afraid of Palestine having jurisdiction or being considered a member. Although I doubt anything will happen. Look at its point. Bush never indicted, Netanyahu, Tony Blair, nothing at the ICC. And, there's a lot of disdain that people have for the ICC because it's been viewed as an institution whose sole function, whether they meant this originally or not, but they view the ICC as an institution that only goes after African leaders or maybe from Yugoslavia. Like that's it. White Western leaders are untouchable. The only person of any magnitude of like the leader of a superpower or power, because we're talking about Russia, not the Soviet Union. It's Putin, right? Like there's no one else of his caliber that has actually been indicted at the ICC. And once again, you want to talk about Ukraine. I mean, this is incomparable to Iraq. Nothing has been done about Iraq. So, how is it that the ICC has time to deal with Ukraine and Putin, but not for Bush and so on. And on top of it, the indictment at the ICC is that the allegation is that Putin forcibly transferred children. And I mean, the Russian point of view, or rather response to that is, well, Russia was removing refugees or basically moving children out of a conflict zone to protect them. But from the ICC's point of view, it's like, forcible transfer of population. It's ethnic cleansing. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that the Russians want to ethnically cleanse Ukraine. That's ridiculous, right? You want to talk about ethnic cleansing? Let's look at Palestine. Let's look at what the Israelis are doing there. That's ethnic cleansing. That's something you should be worried about. That's something that merits and warrants the utmost of devotion and attention from Western countries to solving this issue. Number one, right? That's the number one thing you deal with instead of bringing some bogus charge against the Russians. Again, there's no proportionality here. There's no justice. Just justice.